Hello my fellow dragons, it's your boy Travis here once again discussing everyone's favorite topic, Spyro and Crash. Because nothing is going to stop me from talking about the purple boy, and nothing shall. So, in January of 2022, Microsoft bought out Activision Blizzard for $70 billion, which in all honesty has to be the most insane buyout in video game history. Probably even more so than when Disney bought out Fox. This means that not only does Microsoft now own all of Activision Blizzard's properties, which includes Diablo, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Call of Duty, Skylanders, Crash Bandicoot, and Spyro, or at least they're about to in the following year, but this also means that both the orange marsupial and the purple dragon are now part of the Xbox family. This news got a rather mixed reaction, to say the least. Some people think it's a good thing, while some other people think it's a bad thing. Mostly because the news caused them to believe that this means Spyro and Crash will be exclusive to Xbox and PC from now on. And this is something I'm going to address later. Now, I made a video talking about the acquisition right when the news surfaced on that day. So, as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, I think it goes without saying that this one's going to be a follow-up to said video. But let's get back to the topic at hand. There were even PlayStation fans who thought Sony used to own Spyro and Crash, and were upset that they're now being owned by Microsoft. As a PlayStation boy myself, I can understand the frustration. However, I do want to state for the record that Spyro and Crash were never owned by Sony. As a matter of fact, Spyro and Crash were never PlayStation IPs to begin with, or IPs for any other console. Now, some of you might already be saying,
"But Travis, didn't Spyro and Crash have games that were only on PlayStation?"
Yes. Yes, they did. The original trilogies, including Crash Team Racing and Crash Bash, were released exclusively on PlayStation back in the late 90s. However, this does not mean the two IPs were owned by Sony. Keep in mind that the company that published the games for Spyro and Crash was Universal Interactive, and Universal would still have the rights until Activision claimed the two IPs in the late 2000s. So, why did the original Crash and Spyro trilogies only get released on PlayStation and not ported to other consoles like the Nintendo 64 and the Sega Dreamcast? Well, my only guess is that it's because PlayStation is the console where people enjoy the games on the most. In fact, it's kind of been that way since its first debut. My other guess is that the PlayStation 1 had a more powerful hardware than the N64. I still find it hilarious that it's been this way for decades. Get good, Nintendo. And Crash and Spyro wouldn't get multi-platform console games until Crash Bandicoot, The Wrath of Cortex, and Spyro Enter the Enter the Dragonfly. And even Spyro got his first game that was not on PlayStation or on console, called Spyro Season of Ice, which of course was a Nintendo Game Boy Advance exclusive. And the first time Crash and Spyro ever got an Xbox port was, once again, Wrath of Cortex and A Hero's Tale. Why not Enter the Dragonfly? Well, yeah, I don't think I need to explain why. But yeah, it's kind of been that way since then. Well, sort of. So from the post-classic era, to the Titans and Legend era, to the Skylanders era, to the remake era, and now the modern era, Spyro and Crash have been getting Xbox ports since 2002. And now, literally 2 decades later, well, you already know what happened. Now that Microsoft is acquiring the rights to Activision's IPs, this means that Spyro and Crash, along with the IPs under Activision Blizzard's belt, are now part of the Xbox family, along with Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's Bad Fur Day. Now, I want you to remember what I just said, because this is something I'm going to address later. So now this leads to the most important question, and I'm talking $70 billion question. Does this mean that Spyro and Crash will only have Xbox exclusive games and no longer be on other platforms? And the short and simple answer that I have for you is no. Let me explain. The CEO of Xbox, Phil Spencer, knows about their origin and is fully aware that PlayStation is where Crash and Spyro have the best sales. He has also confirmed that future Crash and Spyro games will still be multi-platform. Believe it or not, Microsoft, despite having their own IPs under the belt, supports multi-platform games of said IPs. Take Minecraft and Ori for example. Minecraft is still available on Xbox, but it also has Nintendo and PlayStation versions as well. And Ori even has a Switch version. Now, some of you might already be at the comment section trying to tell me,
"But Microsoft hates platformers and they'll just bury Spyro and Crash."
And that is something I want to debunk. Remember how I just mentioned Banjo and Conker? There has not been a single game to come from those two franchises since Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts from 2008 and Conker Live and Reloaded from 2005. Disregarding his appearance in Project Spark a decade later. People have come to the conclusion that Microsoft buried the two IPs because, well, they just don't care about them. But I would like to argue that that is not true at all. Microsoft does care about Banjo and Conquer. There was even a Rare 30th anniversary collection called Rare Replay in 2015 that included those two games along with Banjo-Tooie. And just to back up this explanation even more, Microsoft actually assisted Nintendo, as not only was Banjo-Kazooie ported to Nintendo Switch Online, but Banjo himself was also included as a playable fighter in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, I already established that Microsoft cares about Banjo, but why haven't we seen a new game from him in years, let alone Conquer? Well, the answer is simple. See, those two games were made by a British development team called Rare, formerly known as Rareware. The reason there hasn't been a new Banjo or Conquer game is not because Microsoft wants them dead. It's actually because, well, Rare just isn't interested. Right now, Rare is trying to focus on making other games, and they're not going back to the classics. At least not at the moment. So it's not like Big Daddy Phil Spencer just came up to Rare and was like, hey, Rare, right about, okay? That new Banjo game and that Conquer game look fine and all, but we don't need those two IPs anymore. What everyone wants is super realistic games. I'm talking shoot-'em-up games, intense fighting games, you name it. We need to make the big bucks. We need to get the dough. We need that sweet cha-ching. We've got to have money. We don't need no baby games like Crash or Spyro or Banjo or Conquer. Actually, you wanna know what's hilarious? Conquer isn't even for kids. In fact, everyone who's played or heard of it is fully aware of that. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that Microsoft cares about Banjo and Conquer, and they'd be down for a new game. But the thing is that they're leaving that up to Rare. So if Rare decides that they really want to make another Banjo or Conquer game, then Microsoft will allow that. But at the moment, like I said earlier, Rare has no interest. The reason I'm mentioning this is because I don't want people to think Microsoft is just going to kill off Spyro and Crash and cancel future projects. I just said this, and I will say it again. If any development studio wants to make a Spyro or Crash game, Microsoft will allow it. And for those of you thinking that you have to buy an Xbox to play Spyro and Crash, I'm letting you all know that you don't. As I mentioned earlier, Spyro and Crash will not, I repeat, not be exclusive to Xbox. Will there be exclusive content in the Xbox versions? Probably, most likely. But the games themselves won't be exclusive to Xbox. You will still be able to enjoy Spyro and Crash on PlayStation, and yes, even Nintendo. As long as Phil Spencer stays true to his word. So I just want to reassure you that there's nothing to worry about. And with that, that's all I want to talk about today. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date on what I'm doing or check out my artwork, you can follow me on social media. And if you want to hang out and say hi, I have a public Discord server you can join. And if you want to support me and my works, you can consider becoming a patron on my Patreon, where I'll be posting early access work in progress content. All links will be in the description. Thank you all for watching, and as always, take care and stay safe.